And welcome back to the Hot Lap. Christian Horner has been acquitted. Yep, pray tell, Red Bull. Everyone's cheering, I think, in the Red Bull team at the moment. All Red Bull fans, Max Verstappen fans, because, as I said, Christian Horner has been acquitted from the external source, giving them information to Red Bull, and the nod has come from the Red Bull HQ, not necessarily Red Bull Racing. But other than that, there's a couple more headlines we are going to get into. For example, Hamilton's Kimi clause. Yes, the truth is out there on why Hamilton was only given a 1+1 deal, and it involved a certain driver called Kimi, but not the Raikkonen. You probably know the guy, but we'll get into it. And last but not least, the World Motorsport Council, I think, met, and they've rubber stamped the F1 sprint races for this year and the updates of the weekend. We've kind of gone into it before, but it's made official now. So let's get into the first thing here. Horner finally has been acquitted, as you can see here. And what does it mean for the Red Bull team? So Christian Horner, the Red Bull F1 team, has been cleared of any wrongdoing after what was a very lengthy investigation into his alleged behaviour by the drinks company, and this is something Horner has always denied from day one. Now, following a lengthy probe into allegations made by him by a female employee, it says on motorsport.com, Red Bull's found no evidence of inappropriate behaviour. And now, as Horner travelled to Bahrain, that was kind of announced this morning, I kind of figured, okay, he's probably, going to be okay, because why would Red Bull be sending him to Bahrain? So he travelled to Bahrain. Red Bull issued an official statement explaining the claims of wrongdoing against him had been dismissed. And it said a statement issued by the Red Bull company in Austria. The independent investigation, it started, into the allegations made by Mr. Horner is complete, and Red Bull can confirm that the grievance has been dismissed. The complainant has a right of appeal. Now, the Red Bull appointed, as you probably know by now if you've been keeping up with it, an independent barrister outside the company to conduct this investigation. And it included lengthy interviews with individuals, including Christian Horner, and then it has taken several weeks. Now, media reports have speculated, and we kind of did a bit of speculating too, about the nature of allegations against him, albeit we don't really know the facts. Red Bull, as I said, has not offered any further details. It said, however, that it was fully confident the investigation had been conducted in a, drumroll, fair, rigorous, and impartial manner. And it added, and this is a bit, well, not doesn't raise any concern, but this is the bit that could get, let's just say, tabloids or newsworthy headlines mainly for people to make up because of the lack of facts. Now, that's no hair off Christian Horner or Red Bull, and that's not their fault. It's just, unfortunately, the way the media is these days. And the investigation added, the investigation report is confidential and contains private information of the parties and third parties who assisted in the investigation, and therefore we will not be commenting further out of respect for all concerned. Red Bull will continue striving to meet the highest workplace standards. Now, Horner's exoneration ends what must have been quite a difficult few weeks for him, and speaking at the Red Bull launch earlier this month, Horner admitted that it's been challenging for both him and the team. He said, inevitably there's been a distraction, but the team are very together. He said, everybody's focused on the season ahead, so it's very much business as normal. The support has been fantastic. And as the invasion dragged on, several parties went public in urging Red Bull to basically complete this investigation and conclude it. That included, I think the FIA made a statement, the F1 commercial rights holder, and also, more significantly, potentially, is the future Red Bull partners Ford via Jim Farley. And they stated that they were increasingly frustrated by the lack of resolution or clear indication from you, as in the Red Bull team or Red Bull HQ, about when you anticipate a fair resolution of the matter, and we are likewise frustrated by the lack of transparency, they said. So what's interesting is, have they sent the report to Ford? Because they basically said, we're not going to know anything about it. And this is where motorsport.com also has an article which is interesting about what's next for Red Bull after the Horner investigation. Once again, Horner absolutely acquitted of it, as in they found no evidence of inappropriate behaviour, which is really, really, it is important to know. But it's unfortunately, in this day of the trial by public media, trial by social media, the lack of information makes will not make all the rumours go away, but understandably, because of the people involved, maybe because of the nature of the investigation, they're not going to release anything. So, so I guess some people may well be a bit frustrated by the complete lack of information. But this article goes on to say about the cost cap affair was a tough period, but this was a very tough period for Horner personally, unlike the cost cap affair, which was kind of like the whole team. This was Horner pretty much being attacked permanently, and whilst he remained in his role, and fair play to him, he stuck to his guns. He attended the Red Bull launch, he attended testing, but, and it says here, far from being the ultra confident character who bounces around the paddock, Horner looked tired and drained as he found himself the subject to an investigation that began a month ago. And it said the rumour mill had run wild with speculation over exactly what Horner had allegedly done. And there are multiple different versions told by inside paddock figures, so to speak, with many of the stories contradicting each other. Now, sources, though, have strongly dismissed some of the more extreme suggestions that appeared in many publications, and lawyers, it says, may well, including, Horner's lawyers, Red Bull lawyers, may well have a field day at some of these publications. Now, due to the restrictions involving this internal investigation, there is very little clarity about what was and was not involved, as that Red Bull statement suggested. Now, whether or not Horner will offer more details, and I doubt he will, it's understood that Red Bull's parent company remains eager to focus to that on-track stuff. But here it is. But what perhaps most is intriguing of all is how much the situation has revealed the hand of those wishing to use the situation to oust Horner. Yes, the behaviour of other teams in probing Red Bull in recent weeks has been viewed as normal behaviour in the dog-eat-dog world of Formula One, which is kind of sad, but okay. Even Verstappen said that's a constant tactic in F1, one that is always used, that does not apply to this story, but it's always the case and typical for F1. That is 100% typical F1. And it said there also remains a lot of intrigue about what role the various elements of the Red Bull global operation did and didn't play in the matter. From the Thai majority shareholders, I believe they own 51%, and the Austrian parent company, Helmut Marko, and the Verstappens, there was all these rumours of a massive rift. And it says here, were the internal disagreements about the direction things should take? Were some trying to force the matter and get a change at the very top? And were personal vendettas being played out? It says only those right in the centre of it know for sure. And just as the specific details of the complaint are unclear, so too, it's hard to pick out the truth. And what is wild gossip from what was an incredibly complex situation. However, it says it is well known in politics that enemies often reveal their hands when the leader looks weak, but they can find their positions incredibly compromised when events turn around and there's no change at the top. The other aspect to it is where it leaves Horner's own position inside Red Bull as this goes forward. Hopefully he maintains team principal role going forward. But it says, although in some respects the situation in the past few weeks made life difficult for him, the very prospect that those within the organisation had to ponder a future without him delivered food for thought about his true impact. Horner has been with Red Bull since 2005. He's one of the people, I think, along with David Coulthard, they got Adrian Newey in there, which was a massive turning point for Red Bull. Now, while developments like Ford's letter to Red Bull urging it to end, the uncertainty of the situation was viewed by some as it perhaps being deeply unhappy. Its stance was actually one shared by Horner. He wanted nothing more himself than the investigation, absolutely understandably, to be wrapped up so everyone could move on. And behind closed doors, it's understood that Horner received widespread private backing from partners and employees. That's something he even said at the launch. But here it is. One thing is clear, though, with Horner's ultra-competitive mindset. Despite all he has been through, he will not allow the situation to have weakened his nor the team's focus on the job in hand, and especially open the door to rivals who have been hoping to exploit the troubles. And the best way to prove that is Red Bull domination at the Bahrain Grand Prix, which I think most people had predicted. Definitely Max Verstappen domination at the Bahrain Grand Prix. But there we go. Hopefully we can put an end to that. We don't mention it again. And that's it. So let's move on. Hamilton's Kimi clause. Yeah, lots more slightly controversial maybe. But it says here, Mercedes gave Hamilton a short F1 contract to keep Kimi Antonelli option open. And that's something that Toto Wolff admitted, that the Mercedes Formula One team didn't commit to a longer contract to Hamilton because it didn't want to risk losing their new protege, their new Hamilton, so to speak. Potentially. Now, last August, Hamilton signed a 2-year contract with the team, which was widely assumed to be a fixed term 2-year deal till, for 24 and 25. But it ended up leaving open this possibility for Kimi Antonelli to step in 2026. Okay. But Hamilton, though, he was able to use these clauses to miss that second year and take up that offer on the Ferrari. That's something we've already spoken about. And Antonelli, who is just 17 years old, is moving up to Formula 2 with Prima this year, having won Italian Formula 4, so he's skipping F3, and he won the Formula European Regional Champion. A lot of hype behind this guy. Now, Wolff has compared the situation with 2014, when the team was keen to sign a certain Max Verstappen, but had nowhere to put him. But Red Bull had the Toro Rosso seat, ergo, Red Bull got him. He said there was a situation many years ago where we had the opportunity to let Max drive, he told, and that wasn't possible back then because we didn't have a spare cockpit. Rosberg and Hamilton were tied long term, and Red Bull naturally seized the opportunity. They gave him a contract with Toro Rosso with the possibility of driving for Red Bull in the following year. We then lost the young driver, and you can see how successful he's become, Toto said. And precisely because we have a junior on the horizon, and Kimi Antonelli, who is really driving at a very high level, I simply wanted to keep this option open. And Wolff reiterated that what he said in response to motorsport.com in Bahrain last week by stating that the newly vacant 2025 seat is not necessarily being saved for Antonelli, who is yet to start his F2 race. He said that does not mean we'll actually put Antonelli in the car next year. He's 17 years old. That might be a bit early, but with a view to the next 5 or 10 years, I just wanted to have this option. Now, regarding the Italian's potential, he said, in a way, he's a wonder kid. He's won everything there was to win karting, and then moved into F4. He won all the championships in his rookie year, then moved up a level and won everything there too. Now we've decided to skip F3, partly because there's not much time to test there. Instead, he'll go straight into F2, which is a huge leap for him. There are really big cars with power. Most of the races are part of the F1 supporting program, so we'll have a good overview there too. And there's a picture of him there, and as you can see above me, that Wolff, though, he's confirmed that Antonelli is going to do some private running in the 2022 Mercedes car, the bouncy one. And they'll run a big test program with him in 24, and then we'll see if he's ready for 2025 or 2026. The conundrum over opting to hold him back until 26, though, is that it would require another driver stepping in for that 2025 seat. Hamilton's not going to be there. And assuming that George Russell remains in the other seat and his contract is extended beyond 25, which I think it is, unless he has a disastrous year. I mean, he had a fairly okay-ish year in 23, a much better 22 when compared to Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be really interesting, though, how both of them go this year. So that's the Kim and Antonelli thing. F1 sprint update, yes. The World Motorsport Council has approved changes to the F1 sprint schedule for 2024 season, and we'll see weekends change how they are structured. Now, following the announcement from the F1 Commission, it says here, this is from planetf1.com, that sprint changes would take place for the 24 season. These have now received the official World Motorsport Council approval. Thumbs up. Now, the official schedule for the 6 sprint weekends have yet to be confirmed on the F1 website, but this announcement will likely enable race organisers to put these changes ahead. So to make Parc Fermé conditions, they come in a bit later in the weekend, as we've already discussed, offering teams more flexibility over their car setup. I mean, how many times have we seen it where the sprint race is just a preview for the race? For example, Brazil, Mercedes, absolutely eating their tyres, couldn't change their setup. The same thing happened in the race. So it allows flexibility over car setup. Qualifying for the sprint has been moved back to the Friday after that just one free practice session. The Saturday will see the sprint take place as the first F1 session of the day, before the drivers dust themselves off for Grand Prix qualifying later on, offering the teams a chance to make tweaks to their car. And the 24 sprint and weekend structure is now set to take place as follows. On Friday, we've got FP1, free practice 1, then you have sprint qualifying. On Saturday, you'll have sprint and Grand Prix qualifying, and Sunday, you'll have the Grand Prix. The 6 sprint weekends are due to take place this year. China being the first one, then Miami, Austria, Brazil, Las Vegas, which is interesting, and Qatar. So, there we go. If you made it to the end, absolutely subscribe. Thank you very much for all your comments, all your views, all your likes, all your clicks. Really massively big appreciation to that. Stay tuned. We'll be covering the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend. By the time you've read this, practice may well have already happened. But there we go. We'll be covering that too. Thank you very much.